Thank you for signing up for our case challenge. We're very excited. I promise this will be, of course, the word challenges, and there will be a challenge, but we promise we're going to make it fun as well. That's the most important thing. You know, you're going to be thinking on your feet pretty quickly, and you're going to put some good thought into your presentations. And while our judge is over here, but the most important thing is we want you to have a good time with it. So I want to just go around and introduce myself, my team, and my judges. I'm Melissa Uniat. For those of you who did attend our info session, I'm the campus recruiter specifically for Maxwell for Deloitte. So happy to be here and excited that you're here.
Hi, I'm Laura Stanford. I'm a strategy and operations senior manager in our federal practice in DC. I'm also a Maxwell alum, graduated from in here with my MPA in 2003, and I've been at Deloitte since that time.
Matt Baer. I am also a strategy and operations consultant with Deloitte in New York City. I graduated from Maxwell in 2010, so fairly recently. I remember this room for classes, and I'm very excited to be here as well.
Hi, I'm John Rampula. I'm a 99 JD MPA. I'm a senior manager in state and local strategy and operations practice based in Camp Hill.
I'm Jill Lenhart. I'm the Director of Communications here at Maxwell School and pleased to be one of your judges.
Nate Stevens. I graduated in 2010 with my MPA from here, and I currently work at Onondaga County Parks doing overseeing the administrative functions.
We also have an additional judge that couldn't be with us here today, but she will be here tomorrow. She is also an alum. Her name is Madison Quinn, for those of you who don't know her. Okay. So I just want to give you an overview of what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes, just to give you an idea of what to expect through this evening, and then tomorrow being a big presentation day. In just a moment, after I go through a high-level overview of the agenda, we're also going to reassign teams. We unfortunately had some people that were unable to make it, and I know I asked all of you to look at your team numbers behind your name tag, but what we're going to do before we jump into the cases, I'm just going to ask you guys to, in proximity of where you are, break up into groups of 4, and then I'm just going to reassign teams, okay? So we're going to go over provide the case overview, and these are all materials that after you start to break and get into your groups to begin planning your strategy, I'll send you all the case and the supplement, the materials that you'll need in order to conduct your research. We'll provide details of your mission. So when we go through the case, there's certain many pointers that you want to take through the case, and things that you should be asking, things that you should be looking for, and things that you want to put in your group presentation tomorrow. We'll review the rules of the challenge, which is the most important thing. Like I said, we want to make this fun, but there are certain ground rules we'll have to apply to. And then, of course, we have our judging panel. We have 2, what were you calling, consultants or mock interview commissioners that are going to be available for the next 2 hours. One is based at the federal practice, and she was unable to be here, but we're going to provide you with the dial-in information so you can call her and ask her questions to conduct research, and then Matt will be here on site as well. And then we'll answer any final questions that you might have in general. Okay? So this agenda is we're going to tweak it just a little bit because we based it on 8 teams, so now we're just going to sandwich it just a little bit. So what we're doing is we're going through the case, and after we assign our teams, I'll rework the agenda and I'll send it out to you guys. But basically, in the next, as I mentioned, 45 minutes, we're just going to go over the case and rules of the game and sort of explain your mission. And then you guys are free to start working. Something I really want to stress is when you're working in your groups, we didn't give you a deadline of midnight or 10 p.m. tonight. We really want you to maximize your time, but really be conscious of each other's schedules. Your presentation will not be due until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, so if that means you want to work until 10 and you feel really good about it, and you want to wake up tomorrow morning at 7 and regroup, or you're feeling really good at 10, it's really up to you. The only thing that we don't want is you burning the midnight oil, going crazy on this and staying up till 4 a.m. If I see any bloodshot eyes tomorrow, I'm turning you away and you don't get a prize, okay? So what we'll go through is the presentation round. You'll have about 20 minutes to present. You'll have about 5 minutes for Q&A. So the judges will be listening to your presentation, be observing you individually and as a team, and will certainly be throwing some curveballs your way, so you definitely want to be ready to address those. Then we'll have some lunch and the judges will deliberate. And we're going to bring back 2 teams. So how it's going to work is now 3 teams will go to one room and 3 teams will go to the other, and you'll have your chance to present. We'll pick one leader from each of those rooms. Then you'll come back and you'll be chosen as a finalist. And we'll give you some additional detail on the final round. You don't have to worry about that just yet. Just worry about your presentation now. But the finalists will have a chance to present, and that will be a half hour. We'll give you some time, the finalists, to prepare any additional tweaks you want to make to your presentation. And then we'll award prizes. And then we have a lovely cocktail reception at 4:30 tomorrow with some hors d'oeuvres and, from what Kelly tells me, open bar, so we'll get too crazy. Team, anything else that we should address? So this is gonna change a little bit. So why don't at the end of the case we come back to this slide, let me rework it a little bit. Presentation schedule. Okay, so before Laura takes you through the case, and your mission if you will, if you guys can just break out into segments of 4. Proximity to where you're seating is best.
So I'm going to go through the case with you. Your case today is the Federal Rail Commission. So this is based off of a real federal agency, as well as a real problem that Deloitte had and that we have been engaged with for about the last 3.5 years. So the Federal Rail Commission is a federal agency responsible for the maintenance of federal railways across the country. Now, you guys don't need to take notes on this if you want, because you will be getting these slides emailed to you. So you can just, listen in, and if you have questions, feel free to interject. The primary objective is to maintain safe rail and promote rail use across the country. For a lot of years, they've had very limited funds. This just hasn't been a priority nationally. With the advent of the American ARA funding, their budget went from 60 to 70 million a year to 8 billion per year. So the Federal Rail Commission is trying to figure out what do we do with these monies. They have been charged with distributing grant funds, and they are now in the process of having to figure out how they are going to, allocate and distribute those funds. And it's March 2009. So additional background, I think the important pieces on this slide, they will not be funding 100% of any of the projects. They're requiring some amount of matching funding from any of the organizations that receive funding. One of the president's initiatives, this is a very high priority for President Obama. This is something that's very public, something that Congress is keeping a close eye on, as well as the public. So this is very much in the public spotlight. You have an agency that has increased tenfold, and they need help in managing the additional funds that they have been given and the new expansion of scope that they've been given. So the current passenger rail system in the United States, you've got more than 21,000 miles of track across 48 states. One of the major challenges they face is that a lot of the rail is owned by private organizations rather than by the federal government. So that's been something that they've struggled with in trying to grow and as well as kind of develop projects to expand rail use within the country. As you guys are probably aware, I mean, the Northeast notwithstanding, rail use is low across the rest of the United States, and that's due to a number of different functions. Geography, you know, the cities are further spread apart, abundance of automobile usage, as well as flights being, you know, the prices of flying kind of being reduced. So, you know, for rail to be competitive, you know, there needs to be reasons and benefits to incentives for folks to use rail over automobiles or air travel. So the stakeholders within this case, and for just this situation, one is Congress. I mean, they are spending a lot of money, $8 billion on this issue, so they want to know that their money is being well spent. State and local governments, they're the ones that are requesting the funds. They have an interest in wanting to obtain them, and they also have concerns about how are they going to pony up the matching funds that are required. Environmental groups, one of the benefits that are often touted for high-speed rail is the environmental benefits because, you know, reduced automobile usage and then kind of the fuel consumption that comes along with that. But then there's also concerns about tracks kind of infringing on areas that you don't want tracks and kind of expansion along those ways, which could have a negative impact on the environment. And then just generally the American people. I mean, this is a lot of money, and it's public groups or citizen groups are concerned about how this money is being spent. And I think this is also an issue and a use of funds that is very understandable by the American public. I mean, I think there's some other ways that Congress spends and allocates money that is a little bit harder for people to grasp. But I mean, this is a very large chunk of money, and every, you know, 3-year-old knows like choo-choo trains. So, you know, it's just a concept that people can latch onto easily. So it's very public and very much in the public eye. So, your challenge. The FRC has contracted with Deloitte because they would like help into developing the evaluation criteria for the grant funds or the grant requests that they receive. These criteria need to include measurable, qualitative, and descriptive criteria that they can use to evaluate the grants. And you need to have at least 4 criteria, and these can be things like cost, schedule, jobs created, safety. For your presentation, you will want to present those criteria that you've established, any assumptions that you've made, any pros and cons of the criteria that you've laid out, so that the commissioner has all the information that he needs or she needs to determine which part of your recommendations they're going to go forward with. If they want to take all 4 of your evaluation criteria, or if they need to tweak some of the evaluation criteria that you've laid out. Typically, evaluations would focus primarily on cost. However, obviously, in the case of any public project, you're also going to look at the public benefit, and that is a factor just as much as the cost allocation. So, any questions about what you've been? You'll get a lot more information in your packet about just kind of background information about the Federal Railroad Commission. But any questions about what you're being asked to do? And we'll be around, so if you have questions along the way, we can help. Yes?
Thanks, Lana. Okay, now the ground rules. As Melissa mentioned, have fun with this. We really want this to be an enjoyable experience. You know, learn about each other, maximize each other's background and experience in this. So we really do want this to be fun. I want to stress that. We don't want you working all night. In years past, teams have done that. We really don't want you to do that. Really, as Melissa mentioned, the 8:15 deadline is if you wake up in the morning and have an epiphany, and do, you know, after the epiphany and you want to modify your presentation, do it. That would be great. But we did want to allow that time for you to sleep on it, make any changes in the morning. There are no correct or incorrect solutions. So on our scoring sheet, you'll be judged on a number of parameters. You know, soundness of solution is important. It's not right or wrong. It's really how sound is the solution. presence, presentation style, how you address the questions. Those are really the key things we're looking at. So we don't have a sheet that has a right and wrong answer. We're going to be looking for those skills. So keep in mind that, as the scenario plays out, you're presenting to a group of fairly senior executives, and you're actually, pitching your solution, the Deloitte solution, to executives. Not at all unlike the way we do government procurement, both state and federal. We're often presenting to panels of people. In fact, we did one in the university a few weeks ago where the panel was 32 people. There's many people as you have in the room today we were presenting to as part of a procurement committee. The materials, one of the ways we kind of constrain this in time, because we know there's always ultra competitive people in the room, like Laura, who would work all night. So keep your research to the materials we provide. I mean, resist the urge to go out there and find a bunch of other stuff. Stick with the materials that are contained. That'll help you stay within a reasonable time frame. We talked about how you're going to be evaluated. Responsiveness to questions is really good, and actually it's fine to pause before you respond. I mean, I'm the kind of person who hates the silence in the room, and I'm the guy who wants to jump in whenever there's silence, but it's fine to reflect. And you may even want to have one person field the questions, and within a particular area, maybe direct the question to someone on the panel. There are a number of ways you can do it within the team, but don't be afraid of that silence. Presentation should be in PowerPoint format. We're not going to judge your PowerPoint skills. No one judges mine, thankfully, so we're not going to judge yours. Every team member, though, should participate in a meaningful way. You will not get maximum points in any category if each team member doesn't participate in a meaningful way. Very important for everyone to contribute. Again, when we go to an orals, no one goes to that orals without a substantive role in that presentation. So we want to make sure everyone has that opportunity as well. Dress as business formal. That's not black tie, but again, keep in mind the audience you're presenting to. I was joking with Matt earlier. I think this is the second time in Matt's career I've seen him in a tie, today and the day I interviewed him.
Second time, yeah.
Yeah, second time. But so ties are a good idea for guys if you want. I think I'm going to go buy one or borrow one of Matt's tonight. But anyway, keep in mind the audience you're presenting to. I think it kind of helps you up your game a little bit as well. Typically when we go in, I wear a suit like maybe 5 times a year, and I always feel like I'm doing something a little bit better because I have that suit on. So those are the ground rules. Again, please do have fun with it. Ask questions to the interviewers. We wanted to invoke a bit of realism, so we've got someone in DC who you can talk to on the phone. We've got an unshaven commissioner here today you can talk to. But again, have fun. And I'd also say there's also a bit of a letdown if you're not one of the finalist teams. Please do come back for the happy hour tomorrow night. If for no other reason, someone dropped a lot of coin on that and we don't want a lot of leftover food. But it's really great because we're not going to have as much opportunity to interact with each of you during this because you're going to be in a team. But come to that with your questions, not only about the case challenge, but more importantly about Deloitte. Use this as an opportunity to interview us, what we do. Each of us, I think, have very different and interesting career paths. So while you're making decisions whether or not to do the resume drop or if this might be right for you, really use that time to talk to us. We are all alums. We were sitting there, not too long ago trying to make the same decision. So we want to wear both hats, both representatives of Deloitte, but also alums, and make sure that you have access to folks who are alums, and we can talk through our decision process. We're very open to any questions except salary. We won't talk about salary tomorrow, but nobody's starving here, so you don't have to worry about that. Any questions about the ground rules, about anything that we presented? Yes?
Can we assume that the judges are well-versed in this topic as well, or should we spend some of our presentation sharing what we've... should we assume that the background information, that kind of thing?
Yeah, let me do this. I don't want to direct your presentations too much, but it's very common for us. Everyone's getting the same information, so I don't feel bad doing this. It's very common for us to restate the problem to the client. In state government, one of the introductory sections to every proposal, actually states asked us to do it, but even if they don't, we do, is understanding the problem, like a succinct statement of what the business issue or problem is you're about to address is a good idea. It grounds everybody, and if there are any issues, the panel can say, whoa, you know. So I think I would say everyone should probably include that in their presentation. And the one thing I wanted to mention along with the materials and with that is, because you only have, the materials are not hyper dense, feel free to make assumptions, but when you're doing the presentation, annotate those assumptions, let us know where you're making assumptions. But the one thing the judges will be assessing you on are make the assumptions reasonable. We can't assume the problem away, right? But we don't want you, again, up all night. You're going to encounter some issues where you just don't have enough information. Make a reasonable assumption and state it tomorrow during the presentation, and there's no detriment to the team in doing so. Okay. Any other? All right. Melissa, do you have the teams?
Yeah, I have the teams,
All right.
so let's backtrack.
Okay. Let's do that.
If I butcher your name, I'm very sorry. Please correct me. Okay, so for your assignments for meetings with your commissioners, Team 1 is Paul, Julianne, correct? Patrick, and Bradley. Okay, good. Team 2 is Nathan, Nathaniel, thank you. Matt, Jessica, and Henish. Okay. Team 3 is Kate. Is it Kalia? Kalila, thank you, Kalila. Ling, and Jessica. Perfect. Jesse, thank you, Jesse. Team 4 is, and I think I had your name wrong because I thought I saw you cross it out. Is it Kendall? Mm-hmm. Kendall, thank you. Savannah, Isha, and Ingrid. Correct. Okay. My Team 5, my girl power over here is Dana. Okay. I'm going to butcher your name a little bit. Bina, thank you. And Marilyn? Yes. Perfect. So they're my team of 3. Strong ladies right there. Team 6 is Sisha? Sichu, thank you. Non, thank you, Non. Maria? And Jason. Okay, so take note of, obviously we can forget about Team 7 and 8, but take note of those of you who will be having your meeting with Allison via phone, and that will be in room
309A.
309A.
So that's teams 1, 3, and 5.
Yes. And then teams 2, 4, and 6 will be meeting with Matt in 308B.
9. 309. Oh, maybe I think it's 309B. Sorry. Maxwell 309B.
So teams 1, 3, and 5, definitely make sure you write down that number and pass it. And that will be your presentation schedule tomorrow morning. But I believe breakfast will be available if you want to come as early as 7:30. Breakfast will be available in 204B.
Yeah, the Dean's Conference Room 204B will be where the food for breakfast and lunches.
So you'll congregate there. You'll hand off your thumb drives to myself. No time to prep. Any additional questions? We have some time, so if anything is unclear around the ground rules, around the case, under what's expected, you certainly have the time now. Yes?
When we present, is it just going to be our groups and the judges, or are the other groups going to be present as well?
That's a good question. Do you guys usually do?
First round, it's just your team presenting to the judges. The final round, the teams who don't make the finals are welcome to stay and watch the presentations. One thing I encourage you to do, though, is not assess your performance against the finalists. So a lot of times we get questions after the fact that, well, our team is better than the finalist team. Take it in for what it is in the final round. But during the first round, the other teams will not have any idea what you presented, how you presented, or how you did. You'll be presenting just to that panel in the first round. Final round, the finalists can't watch each other present, but everybody else is more than welcome to stay and watch those final presentations.
And while those final teams are presenting, I'll make myself available, given that the resume drop is going to be October 4th. If you have any, want to run your resume by me, if you have any questions about the interview process, I'll be available during that time to certainly being sounding board for that.